Hey, welcome to the Summerbrook Student Podcast. I am Tanner Treffin, the youth pastor, and we have Matt Lockhart here as well. And we're going through a purity series right now in the youth group, and we were talking about dating and singleness this past Sunday, and we have the bachelor of bachelors here, Matthew Lockhart. Ladies, be careful. But Matt, what did you think about this Sunday? Any takeaways for you?
I just thought it was really good, and just for our age, as teenagers, like we need to hear about this because we see what culture says, but we don't know like what as Christians how we should go about dating and just all these different situations we can get in. So I just thought it was really good. I just think that a lot of people asked some good questions and had some takeaways.
Yeah, that's good. So Matt, you are a senior, Somerville High School. Somerville High School. There's got to be some things you see there of good relationships and bad relationships going on. Anything come to mind just lately you've been seeing people in relationships there?
Well, I hear a lot of bad things.
Bad things.
A lot of people cheating on each other.
Oh, no.
Just crazy things. But what did you hear when you were in high school?
I just remember a lot of times I was single, and I would walk around the hallways, and people would be like making out in the halls, especially as we were leaving for like, the bus and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing that, but I wish I had that. Just having like those awkward, lonely feelings where you like see all these people in relationships, and it was just Valentine's Day today. And I remember being back in high school and even in middle school, Valentine's Day was crazy. Like everyone would come with all these balloons and big stuffed animals to give out to the boo things. And I would just be watching all that. And, some of it I was like, I don't want a relationship like that. Like that girl's crazy. But other times like that girl is pretty attractive. I don't know. It wouldn't be so bad. And then in middle school, we could buy like carnations, like flowers to give to people secretly at lunchtime for like $1 or something like that. And I just remember one of my friends, he got like 20 carnations, and I was like so jealous of him that I was like, dang, that dude like is getting all the ladies. And then I remember one time I got a carnation, and the teacher handed it to me, and it has like a little note who it's from, and I was so excited. I'm like, who likes me? And when I looked at it, it was just one of my guy friends, and I was like, dang it, dang it. So was there any Valentine's Day craziness going on at school?
So there were the card things you were talking about, which in the 4 years I've never received any, but I guess I've never given any either. So.
Okay.
But yeah, people posting on their stories or boyfriends or girlfriends like, wish I had that, but
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? I mean, I know it was really hard for me, but like when you see all that, do you have like those like deep feelings of loneliness, or are you pretty content as a single person right now, or how do you deal with seeing all that right now?
I feel like most of the time, like, I'm content with being single, but definitely, like, in the future, I look to dating someone one day and marriage eventually. But, like, yeah, sometimes, like, I see, like, two people together, and it seems, like, all cool and everything. It's like, I want that. But I think right now it's just best for me to be where I'm at.
That's good. So you said eventually you do want to date. So, like, do you think there's any right ways to date and wrong ways to date? Do you have any wisdom you can drop on anybody of things you think are good things to do and bad things to do?
Yeah, so I think what you were saying on Sunday, that people go way too fast, like, physically and everything. And
so what's way too fast?
Like, dating, or, like once they start dating, or even before they start dating, like kissing and making out, and just, like, before they even, like, know the person. And just like all that kind of stuff, and what that can lead to.
All right, so let's say you got Charnel. You're taking Charnel out on a date, and you're like, Charnel, you're so beautiful. And you're dropping her off at her parents' house or whatever. The date's just over, and there's like that hallmark moment of like right as you're leaving on the first date, and she seems like she wants a kiss. What do you do in that situation, man? Do you kiss her or not?
It's going to be really awkward at first, and then I'm just like, no. And then just let her go inside, and I'll just walk back to my car and just drive off and just think about, man, I should have kissed her.
So you would kind of feel like you wanted to, but you didn't. So why wouldn't you do it in that situation?
Well, I just think it would just be too early. Like you hardly like know the person. So I mean, I think in some situations, some people would kiss them, and some people don't have a problem with that, and it could be fine. But I think for a lot of people, it would speed up to other things and just more and more.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're so right. I know a lot of people might disagree with us, but and think we're pretty lame. But I know when I kissed Mary, man, things got harder really quick. Of just like kissing's fun and kissing feels good, and so when you start kissing, you just want to keep kissing and kissing some more. And so we actually didn't have our first kiss. Mary's my wife, and so we were dating for over a year. And that was intentional. Early on, within probably the first couple weeks, we had a conversation of like, hey, like, we want to wait till marriage to have sex, and we had to have a plan. And so I was like, so like, what are you okay with doing? What are you not okay with doing? And at first we just like held hands, and then after that we started hugging, and then we waited really long, and then we started kissing, and we were able to make it all the way by the grace of God to wait to have sex till marriage, and I think it really was a blessing. And if you do it the way our culture is doing, which is, hey, go to the movies and make out on your first date, you're going to have a really hard time of waiting to have sex, because making out's a pretty serious business to be doing. So that's good stuff. Cool. What other questions do you want to bring up? Or
is staying single your whole life good or bad? Or what do you think?
That's good. I know in our culture, you're kind of a loser if you're single. That if you're gonna be, like, and speak on behalf of men, the kind of the culture of manliness is the more women you got and the more sex you're having, the more of the man you are. And so if you're not gonna have sex your whole life and stay single your whole life, you're not really much of a man. And I just think that's such a lie. And one of the things I was talking about with you guys on Sunday is the greatest, manliest man who ever was, who was the fullest, complete man and full of purpose and lived the fullest, most complete life, was Jesus Christ. And he never had sex his whole time here on earth, and made a big difference. And so I don't think being a man is defined by how romantic you are or how many girls you have, but how sold out to Jesus you are. And I think that's just needs a truth that needs to be heard more and more in our day here as students. So what about you? What do you think? Is singleness a curse or is singleness a blessing?
Well, I mean, Paul was single, and Paul said that singleness was good. So we have that example, and some people are called to singleness, and some people are called to get married.
Yeah, we looked at that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, that he talks about how it's even better to remain single for the kingdom of God, because then your devotion won't be divided, but you can be wholeheartedly focused on the Lord and His purposes, instead of having to do earthly purposes, which is how do you please your wife or how do you please your husband, which are good things, but they aren't things that have eternal value in the end. So that's good. Cool. Any final thoughts for anybody listening on singleness or dating? How to honor God in any of those areas?
Well, I haven't dated anyone, so do you have any tips?
Yeah. One, for all the students out there, is if your parents say you can't date, sadly, to honor God, you should not be dating, because Ephesians 6:1 and other places talk about that we should obey our parents and everything, for this is right in the Lord. So you want to honor your parents when it comes to dating. And then secondly, it talks about in Scripture, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. I think that's like 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And a lot of times when it comes to who you're looking for and someone you want to date, is they hot or not? Do they look good or not? Are you attracted to them or not? Are they cute and funny or not? And really the first thing on all our list should be, do they love Jesus? Are they crazy about the Lord? And Matt, it drives me crazy that when you ask people, do they love Jesus? They're like, well, they go to church. What's the problem with that?
They could still be going to church and not being a Christian. I mean, there's tons of people in the church today that call themselves Christian, but they're not. And when some people think equally yoked means, oh, okay, yeah, they go to church, so we're good, we're equally yoked. But I just see it all the time. And it's just not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big difference between someone who's forced to go to church or goes to church every once in a while and someone who loves Jesus. And so you want to make sure they're crazy about Jesus. And you can tell that. A tip I heard is when you're talking to someone and the first like 5 to 10 minutes of getting to know someone, they'll bring up the most important things to them. They'll talk about sports if that's the most important thing to them, or they'll talk about music or whatever their passion is. And so just when you're getting to know someone, if you were talking to them for a day or two and they haven't brought up Jesus at all, that's probably not the most important thing to them. And so that's actually challenging as well. As you're talking to people, do you bring up Jesus? Is he that important to you? Cool. Any other thoughts for any students out there listening?
I think that's good. Do you have, anything else? Or
Should I tell them the story of a big dating mistake I made before?
Sure.
So one quick story to end off is a dating fail of Tanner is when I was in 7th grade, I believe. 7th grade, I didn't think I was that cool, but this one girl thought I was cool, or she was interested in me, and she came up and she started saying, "Hi, Tanner," and she would hug me and all this out of nowhere in the hallways, and I just was like, oh my goodness, this girl's amazing, and she was pretty attractive, she was cute, and she was just giving me so much attention, and she was actually an 8th grader, and I was a 7th grader, so I was like, whoa, like an older girl likes me, like this is some status right here, and so we were talking, and we got each other's numbers. And my best friend at the time, or one of my best friends at the time, Anthony, he was telling me, well, you should date her. Like, what are you doing? Like, ask her out or whatever. And so I think I did. I don't remember how it all went down. But I wasn't supposed to be dating at this time. So I was going behind my parents' back and dating this girl. And so we were dating. And right away, she started sending me ILY. And I was like, what's ILY? I didn't know what that meant. She's like, I love you. And I'm like, oh, you saying you love me already? And I'm like, well, okay, I love you too. And so we were telling each other, we loved each other, being super into each other and hugging each other in the hallways. And we're a thing now, telling all the friends and stuff. And then she even asked me, do you want to kiss? And I was like, whoosh. I don't know. I didn't even, I was blown away by that. I hadn't kissed anyone yet. And so we met outside school and I said yes. And we kissed just a peck. But that was my first kiss. And I actually regret that moment because, and why is because when I got home that day, I was so excited. And I was jumping on the trampoline and I was like, I had my first kiss. And I was telling my other best friend, Nick, who lived across the street and stuff. And we were pumped. And then my parents saw I was acting so weird. And so they checked my phone and they saw I had this secret relationship with this girl. Oh. And so my dad actually called her and said, hey, Tanner's not allowed to have a relationship. You guys are broken up. Do not talk to him anymore. And so we got broken up. And I was crushed. I was so mad at my dad. I probably said some things I shouldn't have to him. I was like crying in my bed. But the next day when we got to school, she already had a relationship with someone else. And she was holding hands with some other dude. And so I felt so upset and torn. I was like, wow, like I just gave this girl like my first kiss. I told her I loved her. And she's already with another guy the next day. And so that's when I began to realize that I'm not as smart as I think I am. And I should listen to God and listen to my parents a little bit more than I should have. And so that's a story where I definitely got it wrong. And I hope you can learn from that to save those kisses for someone really special, hopefully your future spouse, and save that telling people I love you, because that makes things so serious when those commitments in middle school and high school just can't sustain that yet. And so any thoughts on that embarrassing story?
Yeah, that reminds me of Proverbs 4:23, just guarding your heart. And I remember a story for me. Like, I was talking to a girl, and this was before I never dated her, but we were just talking. And we were just talking over like text and over the phone, and like I really liked her, and like I said I loved her, and then when I found out she was talking to another guy, like I kind of just like I guess ended it before it even started. And like it just really like broke my heart, and it like really hurt me for like a few days, and just like I never should have said like the things I said, and I just like wasn't guarding my heart at all, which what Proverbs 4:23 talks about.
Yeah, and neither was I. So that's good wisdom. Let's end out on that verse. Actually, Proverbs chapter 4:23 says, "Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life." And so if you want to go on the right course, the godly course, one that honors the Lord, make sure you're guarding who you let into your life, who you choose to date, and date wisely. Well, thanks for joining us for the Summerbrook Student Podcast, and you guys have a blessed week.